Well, welcome. I think we start the meeting with.
We do the public hearing. We open it up.
Right, so we'll call the public hearing to order at 7:04, April 18th, 2024. To open up the meeting about the Board of Education 2023-24 budget proposal for the 25 budget proposal.
24,
So,
24-25 budget proposal.
and we'd like I'm going to go over this first.
Sure, yeah.
You should have an explanation of the budget, and quite frankly, we've worked right up until before the meeting with numbers as they were coming in.
Sorry, I was like, do we want to do the whole thing?
It's the
either one.
person permission statement changes.
I think we
We usually start with a public hearing.
yeah,
Oh,
go ahead.
that's
Yeah,
fine.
and then we open up the meeting. So the budget proposal that you have represents an increase of $281,689. That's a 3.99% in rate change over it comes out to $7,337,023. And that's above the approved budget of $7,055,334. There is a number of things in here that I wanted to review with you. Of course, this is all of the negotiated salaries for certified staff, and that includes Spanish. So we have a Spanish teacher in this. It includes maintaining the effective instructional program, projected costs for tuition, which have increased, projected costs for outplacements, which has increased, transportation for students, and within this budget, we need a handicap van, and I have 80,000, in this budget for the van, taking it out of the budget itself. Energy cost, and then the supplies and materials. And this public hearing is for the board budget, and then we send this to the town clerk, and the public can have access for it. And then Tracy is here, and the Board of Selectmen will set the date for the town meeting. And depending upon what happens tonight, we may wind up approving a budget tonight at this meeting, or the next board meeting, I believe, is Thursday, May 9th. So we have until then so that we can even make additional adjustments. Now, I'm going to work through each page, and just to give you some highlights. And again, the big ticket item is the 1,000 regular ed certified salaries, and that's including $1,373,317. Please note that that's actually less than things were 4 years ago. But just recently, we had another retirement at a teacher at the top of the pay scale. And then we've had 2 other retirements, one at 5th grade and the other at kindergarten. So we will be replacing those people who are at the top steps with people who tend to be at the beginning. So this number reflects that change. As you note down below, the tuition, $561, is the biggest item in that. And the tuition for high school did go up, but not significantly. I also want you to go up to the line above with health benefits. And as you can see, we budgeted $294 this year, and the budget for the proposal for next year is actually $307,000. But I have a report here that I would like you to review because this is really significant. Megan, you just give you that and let's see, 3, 25, 6. We can send some down to Jack and Tracy.
Name got the budget.
You know, in actuality, our budget for health insurance overall, is there enough to get over to?
Yeah.
No laughing at,
Certainly done.
no laughing at us.
Yeah, but in overall, our health insurance costs,
They got,
last year we budgeted $657,000. And next year, we're budgeting $640,000. So that means that our overall cost for health insurance went down $17,000. I go into superintendent's meetings and that is absolutely unheard of. And it's amazing. Why did that happen? Because of the retirements, because of people, who had husband and wife or full family, but there were changes. And, this has been a real cost saving type of thing. And as you know, back in 2012, we moved to the Connecticut Partnership. And when the partnership comes out with their new rates, I think we tend to get a benefit from that because there were two school districts that went in on it as soon as possible, Voluntown and Union. And the reason we could do that is we were small school districts and the smaller school districts have school site governance. We can make a decision as quickly as possible, and that made a big difference. If I had to tell you 12 years ago that we would be paying less than we did in previous years in 2024, 25, I am just amazed that we have had these savings. Now, the premium went up, 2%, but the overall cost went down a little bit. Please note, though, we could have somebody come in and we budgeted husband and wife, and they could say, oh, I want family. And that means that, we would have to make an adjustment in the budget to cover that. Or somebody might come in and we've budgeted husband and wife, and they only need single. And we've been following a trend, and we've been holding our own with that. And that's really, a significant cost. So as you go down through, you'll see the health insurance line, and the number on that is 280, and you can do some comparisons. And that is our total expense. So the regular ed program went up 1.61%. The special ed program, a little bit different story here. It went up 7.6%. And I would draw your attention to line 320. And line 320 is professional educational services. Budgeted $66,000 this year. And you can see this went up to $171,590 for next year. Now, as Dr. Johnson goes through and he works the PPT process, we're finding that students moving on to high school require some additional services, OT/PT, speech language, paraprofessional support, and also, some counseling. And that has added to that line. These are purchased services. Now, in some cases, like this year, we hired a full-time para to go down to one high school. And we prefer that the school district hire a para, and rather than us pay for a full-time para, we pay for the portion that's allocated for our students. And that's one of the approaches that we've used. As you can see, the public school tuition for special ed went from 510,000 to 521,000. The private school tuition went from 84,000 to line 563 to 150,949. That's for one student to meet the needs of that student. Then the tuition for the rest, 564, the tuition is 167,397. That's also one student. And we are required to meet the needs of special education students. And then the rest of the information is, the peripheral. There's the salary for the certified teachers. There's also the non-certified wages. And there's also the health benefits, which actually in this account went down by 13,000. I'm moving over to the administration of the special ed program, the 2000 series. That's the Office of Director of Student Services, and that's Lloyd's central office. He does have a full-time secretary to work with all of the requirements. Social worker, 0, minus 100%. We wrote a grant for $67,000, and we are sharing social worker services. The grant goes over 3 years, 25, 25, and 17. And we have a social worker who comes in and works part-time in our school. The other part-time is over in Preston. And when this person comes in, Amy has a nice long list of things for the person to follow through on, as does Lloyd as part of the process. Guidance services. As you can see, we have a school counselor, but as you noted down below, the 320 other professional services. When our high school students go off to the high school and they have some identified special education needs, there are counseling services that are part of that individual education program. And I used to put those in another account, but I put them in the this account because it reflects how much we're spending at the high schools for counseling. As you note, health services, we have a full-time nurse. Psychological services just went up a little bit. We hire a clinical school psychologist to complete our evaluations. Speech and language, okay, here we go. That went from $160,000 to $96,000. And this is what we did. We had a full-time speech and language clinician plus a part-time clinician. And what we did was the full-time person retired, and we worked out a very creative schedule for increasing the other person's time. And we are meeting the individual programs of children by having this changeover. So even though we got back 8/10 of a counselor, we distributed some of the things with meeting the needs into an appropriate schedule. And please note, again, 320, that's contracted services, $14,388. That's speech and language services for high school students. And I will tell you, the other day, I had another superintendent call me and said, Adam, with the high school IEPs and other things, he said, I'm seeing a big increase. Are you? And I said, absolutely. And, it's just something that's occurred. But if a student is identified as needing services, then the high school has, speech and language services, and we pay for that portion of when they're meeting with the students. It's an hourly fee usually. OT/PT services. 67,000 this year. If you notice the previous year, we budgeted 63 and we paid 81. There has been an increased need for supporting students with occupational therapy and physical therapy. And we've had some increases at the high school level. So these are identified services, and that increased to $95,714. Improvement of instruction remained the same. Instructional staff training remained the same. And Amy and the Professional Development Committee worked with a comprehensive plan of action, but the state, has indicated that it's important that you use a team approach for, improving instruction and also staff training. So we utilize these funds and we're able to maintain a very comprehensive professional development program and also improvement of instruction. Library media services, we have a 1/4 teacher allocated. That's what that salary is for. And then there's a prorated health benefits, and we're running the library at $39,870. Instructional technology, traditionally, I always felt that, we were able to come in about 250,000. We have Mr. Critoro, who's paid from this by, he's our technology coordinator. And also we have a tech teacher who works directly with the students. So there's a 1.74% increase there. The Board of Ed, it's up a little bit. If you look down through, we had no increase in our workman's comp. We had no import in our unemployment. Our other professional services went up about $6,800, but that's based on upcoming negotiations. We have insurance, and the insurance remained the same based on our rate, and also Kerma said that we would have a no rate increase. Adult Ed, that's the Norwich Educational Program. Superintendent's Office, yes, there's a big jump in my salary, but if you look down with health benefits, there's a $7,500 savings. And quite frankly, this compensation is actually less, than previously, because of the tax burden for salary. Although I think I did get a little raise in there. And then there's Darlena Loringer's salary as my executive assistant. And, that budget went up 2.9. Principal's office, 3.3%. That gives you an idea of health benefits. They actually went down a couple $100. And then the salaries for Amy's office. Fiscal services basically remain the same. Operation and maintenance, okay. That went up 6.19%. I could probably put all sorts of additional money in there. Jack's here, he's chair of our building committee, and we've been going through trying to use federal and town and state dollars to complete some projects. And we've been able to utilize outside funds to make improvements. But I just wanted you to know that, there's some things in there, fuel, bottled gas, electricity. There are some slight increases, but the biggest increase is the 98,000 in the 430 account for repairs and maintenance. The Board of Ed wanted that fire panel replaced. They wanted to make that a priority. And quite frankly, with this budget increase in the maintenance, I think I might be able to combine, but I have to review it with the building committee, you know, what the cost is gonna be. And we're doing an RFP for this, and we're in consultation with Jody Grenier, but the fire panel and the smoke detectors that are linked to them need to be changed. And just today, Jack, I heard that one of the key issues is gonna be the wiring. If they can use the current wiring, we're gonna save some money. But I've heard some prices ranging from 52 to 60,000 for the fire panel, but we have to go out to bid for that. And quite frankly, if we have some remaining funds, Tracy, I might go to the town, and we've done this before. If I have, you know, like half the fire panel in some remaining balances, I can designate that to be carried over for a specific purpose, but that requires going to the Board of Selectmen, and they vote to allow us to do that. So I would be combining this year's budget with any remaining balances with this next year's budget to complete that project. Jack?
Part of the discussion in our last meeting, we said that we weren't certain about the immediate need to have this fire panel upgrade. There was some discussion about it. And you elaborate a little more
Absolutely
on that?
needed. Jody has been saying, you know, if that goes, we're shut down. And I talked to him just yesterday, and he's meeting with Brian Callio tomorrow to go over again some of the specifics. But I've got an RFP here that we passed out at the meeting the other day for the fire panel. And Jack, I think I found a way to fund it. And that was the big thing as well. But this developed this year, and we've made some repairs. But based on what Jody is saying and what's happening, you know, with this budget increase, you know, we might be able to do it. So, you know, at our next meeting, I hope that we can, you know, have some things, but we have to send out that RFP to get some quotes and other things. But Jody needs to review the RFP to make sure the specs are what we want. And we can talk about that at the building committee. But I didn't think that I was going to be able to do something like this. But then I had a reorganization with staff. We reviewed our needs, and we found a way to, you know, make sure there was programming for children. So, you know, this offers us a window of opportunity. The transportation is basically remaining the same. This is the drivers, the gasoline, the maintenance of the vehicles. But our fleet now is going to be 9 years old. And I was looking at having a transportation meeting. Kathy, I'm thinking of 7 p.m. on Tuesday night.
Okay.
So, you know, Val, Kathy, and Megan are on that committee, and we might have other people come in to, you know, just help us with having a plan of action, because we do need to start replacing buses. And quite frankly, that inventory of buses was, so maybe we might want to buy a bus a year and take the worst bus and replace it. But we need to look at a whole variety of options.
Formulas for 28,000 for a leak in the water coolers on all of them, and something else. There was a whole list of things they had to do on them. So it was 28,000 last month for repairs. 28,000, some number, I can't remember, but just some repairs, routine maintenance and water leaks and a coolant leak and a oil. I was reading all the things wrong with it on it. But some buses more than others, but 28,000 I signed today.
So is is that reflective on, line item 430, repairs and maintenance? Where we had, 48.9, and now it's,
That's in the 48.9 still.
okay, for this year, then the budget is for just under 71,000.
Yeah, I think there's gonna be more repairs constant. Every month we seem to get
Maybe.
some other item that,
So the 70,000 is reflective of that, that's what.
yeah, of that going forward, more repairs, I believe.
Have you seen the repairs increase as time goes on?
Yeah,
You see
every month.
the numbers bigger and bigger?
Routine maintenance that Orville must be here, and now it's every month, one as much as it is getting something or another done to it.
Right, you're like 24, 23,
Yeah.
27, then you're like pop up 52.
Yeah. But I know I signed that today and I was looking at my, whoa.
This is a 20-year history of the cost of transportation. And I divided it up into the first 16 years where the average was 443. But you can see the last 4 years, we've had some increases. And one of the things that points out is that, you know, in 21, 22, we spent under 500,000. Then we returned from COVID 22, 23, we spent 564 last year. Well, this year, right now, we've budgeted 547, but that doesn't include some of the repairs that, you know, Kathy was just talking about. So the committee will review where we are with that. And then for next year, I put in the budget 630,000, but please look at that in the special ed account, $155,290. And if you turn the page on this budget, that talks about account number 2712. And if we look down in the 730 account, property and equipment, there's a new budget item of $81,294. And that is for a handicap van. And we have a 6-year-old manual handicap van. And we have to put 2 people on that van to push the wheelchair up, and somebody's gonna get hurt. And with this van that we're looking at, it holds 2 wheelchairs, which we are gonna have a need for in the future. Amy and Lloyd are saying yes, yes, yes. And I didn't think that one was available. We got a quote on this van for $92,000 4 months ago, and I wasn't sure how I was going to approach it. And I've been in communication with the company, and they have a van available right now for $81,000, you know, for $80,000, $80,170, but there's some little peripheral add-ons and stuff. So that van is included in the budget. And I will tell you.
You purchased?
Say that again.
Why don't we recently purchased? Yeah,
Yeah.
we did purchase this one.
We have to write an RFP on this. And
How many handicap vans do we have?
we have 1 right now and we have 2 on the way, correct? For handicapped.
2 on the way, that includes this 81.
No, you
That
mean,
was.
Yes.
you mean 2 students?
2 students, right?
We bought it was it last year? 2 years.
6 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, at least a while.
Yeah.
So that was to replace. one?
We didn't even have it,
Right.
we didn't have one, we couldn't find one,
Right.
then we found this small one, so it's like like a regular minivan. That has the wheelchair accessibility in it, and this has 1 seat, you have to push the student up into
That
the.
was like 5 days.
Yeah, it was a while ago, we've just been using this.
Since we just bought one,
I remember the original one.
Couple
had to
years.
Pick the wheelchair up
Yeah.
before we got the ramp one, which is still a liability as you
Yeah,
know, so you
and
need to have an
so-
employee. come.
We do have two, so we will have two students in our care that actually are, in wheelchairs permanent. So the one we have can only fit one of those like latched in.
So will this one,
Accommodate two.
it will accommodate both of them, and then
This-
what will happen with the other one that?
I hope we could trade it in. I don't know. What do you do with the other wheelchair van? Can we trade that in?
We return it to the town for surplus. Or if there's a need, we could keep it here. I know you have some younger children coming. But
Tracy, you wanna buy a
you know,
wheelchair?
It's you know, experienced, I think it's life cycle. And I will tell you, we do have to put two people on. Now, a couple of things about this van. Preston is buying the same van. They are having a special meeting either next week or the following, but they were trying to find a van. They weren't available. And then finally they got called and there was somebody that didn't take a van and they're paying about the same price that we are. And, you know, so they're going through, that approval process right now. There just is an increase in the need for, handicap vans. Now, this van, I had the opportunity to, you know, take my, family member to, a medical appointment and I'm sitting in the parking lot waiting and I watched and this van pulled in and one man got out and he opened the back doors, the sliding you know lift came out, he pressed a button, it went down, he pushed the person into the appointment, then went back, he got another wheelchair person and he took care of that. And we do not have that capability for a large person. And in order to move somebody right now, we need two people. We can't do it with just a driver, but because of the mechanisms of this van and what's happening, unless there's some other needs where you need a, you know, a para on the van. But we're writing up the specifications for the bid process. You know, I mean, as far as a price, I was really shocked when he said he could give it to us for $80,177 because the last quote that I received was, you know, for 92,000. And then just to,
Did you have a question, Kathy?
So this will increase the number of employee hours we need to run the van.
no,
Yes,
Employee hours.
we'll only need one person.
yes, it would decrease, yes.
The employee
Yes,
hours
Kathy.
needed to run the
It
van.
would, and then the van would pull up and the way that we work it is there's somebody here, you know, to be able to take the child and take them into the building. That's when a paraprofessional and a paraprofessional would bring the person out to the van. And that could in effect have some savings. And we would save on some things. But again, that's somewhat important. I don't know whether people want to look at the quote so that they can see that. As far as I was concerned, I would love to see the board. Sorry, Tracy, but waive the bid process and get this purchase as soon as possible so that we could have it for the start of the year, because the chassis is available and that's being held for us. And then the components are built into it and make it, this van can take two wheelchairs or it can be converted to a 9-passenger vehicle. So we have a multi-purpose van that's available, wheelchair accessible, with a motorized lift, or putting in seats and having 9 passengers. And this is the quote that they gave me. And we're reviewing it now. Of course, I want to have a transportation meeting so we can review some of the specs to make sure. And I believe I'd have to get an RFP out there as soon as possible. But researching this and seeing what was happening, this is like an opportunity right now. And this is the van that Preston is purchasing right now, so you can see that. Oh, on the bottom of the page of the cost of transportation, diesel this year, we spent 3.195 per gallon. Thank you, Tracy, thank you, Julie, on the bid process. Next year, it's 2.9364, so we're getting a little bit of a decrease, which is very much, appreciated. And then, food services, just remaining about the same. Extracurricular went up a little bit. Community services is for YSB. And, if we see that we need some money to carry over from this year's budget, that would be added on to this year's budget to help us with some of the, capital improvement items.
Adam, can I ask you a question on that? So you said that it could hold 9 passengers,
Yes, it can hold, it can hold 9 people.
but it can only
I
hold
think
2
I
wheelchairs?
counted right.
Are we choosing to only have the space for 2 wheelchairs put
Yes,
in?
where the
or-
seats are behind the driver and the passenger, the wheelchairs go in there. This picture actually looks like it has 2 wheelchair places plus the passengers. But, there is a way to configure this so that we could use it both ways. It is multi-purpose, it's very popular. I was amazed at how quickly people could handle a handicapped person.
So I guess my question is, the maximum capacity of wheelchairs is only for 2.
Correct.
There's no way of like rearranging it so that, if
No,
we had
because
another
there's-
student who needed
This,
access and we wanted to get rid of this other van that we have, there's no way of increasing this to 3 later on down the road. It's max is 2.
It's.
it's because there are certain tie downs in the platform.
Okay, I
And,
didn't know if that was a
and
choice.
you wheel
or
them
that
in
was-
and, they have some, quick lever things that secure the wheelchair in the van.
I've seen a wheelchair van in all my years in nursing at the hospitals and stuff that hold more than 2. They all hold 2.
I just didn't know if it was a choice or if that's what I think.
The valve will go in right in the back.
Yeah.
And then the floor is indicated as lines.
I just saw like that row of 3 and I didn't know if
Yeah.
like
Right, yeah.
there was another way of creating that if we had another student who needed to utilize.
But it's interesting that you might be able to keep 3 seats plus the 2, so if you had a multi-run that you could utilize the 3 seats, that's helpful to get to one street or,
Well, and sometimes kids like, we have some,
Live
whether
with
it's
sisters.
surgery that needs to access, but in our small van, you can't really get in the back. Once the wheelchair, then you. Like one person can get back there and then you're gonna be motion sick back because you're riding in the back with, the wheelchair, so. It's not very spacious.
Well, it'd be nice too if there was a sibling, the sibling. could-
Right, and you can them all up at once, right, so it's taking all the double trips.
I like the room in it, there's extra space.
Incorporate it into a bus route to save time and have wheelchair and non-wheelchair kids.
Right.
Absolutely.
But I do need to see if I can get some other quotes before the next board meeting, but based on our research and some of the things, this,
Hard to come by.
this is a good deal. I don't know how else to say it, but we have,
You can convert it to 9 passengers, so, which means
yes,
we have to store the seats
we would have
Somewhere-
to look at the, using the shed
Or
or,
not where mice can get them and then chew them.
Yes,
We can
but,
have that.
and Ann and her crew, but see, 3 of the seats are permanent.
Right, in that
So
row,
it's 6 seats
right.
that you would wind up storing. Okay? But, I mean, we could
Right, right.
speculate about all the different configuration. But quite frankly, I think it's nice that if you have somebody that's been in a van in a wheelchair and there's other students that could ride with them, that's a pretty good, social emotional, addition to what's happening. Now, the last time that I presented the budget and I gave you a capital improvement plan, because this is critical as far as what's happening, within the budget. And, the building committee met this week and, reviewed some of the priorities and, Jack is familiar with this, but we're moving along with some decisions. And the building committee made a motion to authorize, me to sign the work orders with DEF. We've already approved the
you.
contract, but Dee Dee, someplace in the minutes, I would like to reference that, I reviewed the signing of the contract for the HVAC and for the gym. And that comes out to like $191,800. That money is set aside and we're using that. Then the building committee reviewed the RFP for the HVAC system for the central office, the special ed office, and the kindergarten rooms. And we'll be sending that out to get some quotes, and we hope that we can have that completed this summer. And if there is some money, there could be about 18,000 left over. We may have some work done with repairs on the library access. The fire alarm panel, I just talked about that. That is a priority. And then that leaves the replacement of the 32-year-old generator and some central office repairs. This ramp out front is dangerous. The skirt around the building is not in good shape. And we may need some other repairs, so I put down 21,000 for that. There is some security and electrical panel upgrades. And I'm looking at the operating budget for that over the next 2 years. The curtain for the stage has been on the list for years. And then the gym sliding door, that's gonna probably have to be a request to the town. But as you can see, we've been trying to take care of, capital improvement with outside grants and with, other types of opportunities like the gracious offering by the town of the HVAC funds. And also not on there is, well, not on the chart, but down below is the asbestos abatement that we've been using. And it just describes doing classrooms 31, 32, and 34 33 and 34 this summer. And we still have the remaining 24,704 for some work during perhaps the summer of 25. So this is what we've been doing with keeping ahead of the building. Okay, I guess I've done a lot of talking, but that is our budget proposal. And as noted, the Board of Ed is responsible for creating, an appropriate educational program for the children. And this, I think, follows through with all of the suggestions with what Amy has indicated and what we're doing. It does include a full-time Spanish teacher in the program tonight. I think we've covered it all. So at this point in time, you know, the board has it on their agenda for the first item for new business to approve a budget proposal. So this was the hearing to review, and I don't know, Jack, Tracy, Julie, I mean, do you have any comments or other things?
Yeah, I'd like to comment the fact that all of the items that I had listed. You covered them perfectly and explained them all. And I really appreciate that. Excellent, thank you. I do have one other
Thanks,
comment.
Jack, yeah.
I see on the board. You've got ACS monies.
Yes, the ECS, I leave that up there because we're still faced with that. And the state is issuing marvelous press releases about the school finance project. And we still have a pending $600,000 cut that starts being implemented in 25, 26. That's still out there. And then just today, Lloyd, I got a note from the state, excess costs, they're lowering it. They're not increasing it. And that's the money that we return to the town. So it's like chipping away at some of the outside funds that we traditionally got. And I don't know the rhyme or reason for that formula. I would love to erase that, Jack, but that's been up there. And I go to meetings and I say, change the ECS. I talked to Heather Summer, I talked to Brian Lanou, and they've been holding us harmless. If they didn't hold us harmless, that $2,117,334 would probably be down to $1,400,000 right now. And it is ridiculous, the formula that they're using. And I think they need to, you know, put in a variable effect on the local property taxpayer because, you know, they're making decisions about how we, you know, how we allocate our funds. And it's going to be interesting. Now, we do have some potential savings coming up for the year 25, 26. I mentioned $157,000 special ed tuition. If Lloyd works his magic, the following year, that might be down to about 30,000. Oh, did we just save 120,000? You know, so there's things like that we have to, you know, we have to look at. And then
that comment, like, is there, you know, when we prepare for these things up and down as we look ahead, to just make estimates so that we're prepared as, you know, a board and a community that, I know it's, you never know, that people can come and go in the system.
We look historically, when we think that these are coming, there's always something that offsets. it.
Exactly.
We thought that the high school tuition, we were gonna see a savings this year, and so it's almost easier not to plan for it, but we were just gonna, I mean, it sounds terrible.
I know, yeah, it's just some food for thought, I guess, is, I mean, I know we can kind of plan for buses because that's eventually gonna happen
I
pretty
think
soon,
this
so.
was a new move into town. The new, the big expense was a new move.
No, one of the, one
Yes,
person
Jack,
in
I
the
would
place
love
and
to
they
erase that.
increased the tuition by 32%
And
this year. So we budgeted a similar increase for next year. I'm hoping that won't be the case, but you've got to be prepared. And in that particular case, the student ages out of high school and the families agreed to a much less expensive transition program.
How old now are we keeping high school student 23?
22.
22 and
Through the school year, they turn 22.
that's just a huge expense.
It is.
It's
And it totally-
4 extra years on.
Well,
for
not
what?
all of the kids get the full 4 years. They have to have significant disabilities. It's usually intellectual disability or autism. And so we provide instruction in basic living skills and employment skills and on-the-job training. And the programs that we participated in the one in Norwich and the one in, Griswold, they do a really good job. And, I have no one going back to the Norwich program next year, but we have a small number of students in the Griswold.
Is there a trend? Do you think they're going to keep raising the age so DDS won't have to?
Now, see, the federal law is 3 to 21. And, litigation and judges made decisions that, well, it should include the entire year that the child was 21. So that popped up, okay, when they turn 22, you could say sayonara. And we budgeted for that. And then last summer, probably in response to advocates, the legislature said, well, let's give them the whole year. So even if the student turns 22 September 1st, we have to give them the entire year.
School year?
Or even July, the entire school year. For a couple of years, when they turned 22, they were finished. We no longer had a legal obligation. And we planned the IEP around that date. I had 2 that was supposed to happen to this school year. But last summer, they said you've got to give them the whole year. I didn't budget for the whole year for either of the children. So, but they were in their programs through June 21st.
They're not even children anymore.
Young people.
Yeah.
Now, for us, it's a significant impact. That impact was $350,000 for the city of New York, of Norwich. Just that one decision, totally unfunded by the state. Where did they find that money? Our impact was less than 10,000. Still, he had to do his magic to say, okay, we'll do a little bit of this and less of that. You know, but at least now I know, and I have a spreadsheet that I created for him, so we can look far into the future as the youngsters, when they turn 22 in the school year, what it's probably going to cost us. But I hope it doesn't change again. There's no reason it should change again. But to have it change 2 or 3 times, two times in a matter of 3 years without enough. It's one thing to make a decision. It's another to be kind and make the decision in October so you can budget for it for the next year. But to make the decision in July and you've got to give the child the whole rest of the year, but you haven't budgeted for that increased amount. But that's what we've been having to live with for a couple of years. And don't take it out on the kids. The kids need this support. These are really good kids. It's not their fault they have disabilities, and it's harder for them to get a job or to get a special training. Or the families that support them too. It's just the state should have said, oh, by the way, here's a special allocation to help take care of that unexpected cost. They didn't do that. I'm sorry.
One quick question on, you said depressed and social work. It says there's 0 impact or really 0 allocated for this year. Is that?
Because that goes to the grant.
Okay, it's a grant.
Yeah, so it was a grant, so we have, I forget how much it was, but we split part-time,
I forgot.
like, so works 4 days here and then 1 day.
And I know you list, so is it enough? Do we find that it's enough
Yes.
support? Yes.
This is the summary of the special ed. Did you get this sheet, Jack? It's a special ed. We have another one if somebody didn't get it, but it just talks about the regular ed tuition at the top, which turned out to be $1,083,426. And then down below is the special ed, and the total comes out to 1.922918 of the $281,000 increase. The special ed portion was about 180,000, and of the total budget, the special ed account this year is like 29% of the total budget. It's going up to 31. So there has been some increases, but as I said before, there could be some savings. significant savings if there are some students who graduate or who move on from a regular high tuition to a 12-year plus transition program. And the nature of a transition program doesn't necessarily have to be full-time because it's a transition into the workforce. But it used to be, it's paid for by the state, and now there's another year added onto the local burden to the school district. And these numbers coincide with the numbers in your budget.
That's a big number.
I'm sure Zach remembers when the school budget first went over $1 million. Everybody thought we were gonna die. It's like 30 years ago, so,
Yeah, remember meetings in the firehouse.
yeah.
Where it was shot down, our budget was shot down, and we had to come back and then look, and shot down the second time. Yeah, it was hell to pay.
Yeah, it was, no way it could be over $1 million. No, we don't even blink it.
Well, there's one.
Yeah.
High school tuition is over $1 million now.
No
Special ed is almost
notification
2.
about the town meeting.
We did go through some dates today. Julie and I have been working on the budget. We still have maybe. We have, the UBC, a couple of boards and commissions, we're still waiting for their budgets, but, so what we've done is we've compiled everyone's requests into our first draft budget. On the next Board of Selectmen's meeting on Tuesday, we'll be going through that. The public hearing and hopefully have a budget ready to go to public hearing after Tuesday's meeting. The public hearing for our budget will be on May 7th. And then we'll have a special Board of Selectmen's meeting on May 13th to approve the meeting call, so we'll hope to have, all of the budget totals to put on the meeting call. And then the town meeting, we're looking at May 21st. And we're gonna have a referendum because it's gonna be, an increase. Because we have the increase from the Board of Ed size from your budget, and we're looking at an increase on the town side as well. We've had staff changes, costs of things have been going up. We're having, public works, road maintenance, everything's just getting more expensive. Public safety, that's gone up a bit, 20%. So that's.
Okay.
what we're looking at.
One of the things the board has done is they've non-renewed 5 teachers because of the budget process. And there's some decisions, based for those people. And usually we wind up doing rescinding the order in the May meeting, which is May 8th. It's a little early. Or else then we have to wait until June, which is very late in the year. And I have to look and see what's happening with the budget, and then, maybe talk to the board about what we might want to do about this, because, this is laying people off until we get a budget. And that's why I was hoping something could happen. And perhaps if that meeting happens and it doesn't go too late into June, we might have a special meeting so the board can say, we're gonna rescind the non-renewals and issue contracts, for the people for next year. Because that helps with planning as well.
So the final vote is, it might not be the final, but the vote would be the 21st, you're saying?
The vote, there'll be, the town meeting will be on the 21st,
Yeah.
but it'll be moved to a referendum, so people will be able to vote all day. And that'll be on, May 28th, which is the day after Memorial Day, it's a Tuesday.
May 28th.
Yeah, okay.
So we have to have early voting for that.
Thinking about,
Okay,
so, and that's the challenge is we both have budget increases.
Yeah.
The last year,
Yeah, and last year, all the towns that had increases, their budgets didn't pass when they went to referendum, so. But that's what we could be looking at, so.
Deja vu.
Sharpen that pencil out.
Last year, in revenue, so that helped us out, so we didn't have an increase in the mill rate, but our grand list is pretty flat this year.
What about pilot? Remember Brian was saying we're up to
That increased.
what
It
the big
increased
cities are getting now, but
Yeah, it
the
increased.
state's not funding it still?
Increase last year, we got the increase for that, so we're not expecting an increase this year, because we got one last year, so. There is some places where we could see more revenue, like there's a bill in right now to fund the Mashantucket Pequot Fund more, and we do get that, so. If that bill passed, we could get some money there, but they had the same bill up last year and it didn't pass, so. I don't know. We could come.
I feel like, yeah, things have halted so much since COVID, trying to tighten, and it's just, there's
There's no.
there's nothing else
That's
that,
how-
everything's leaking and everything's breaking down.
That's what we're seeing is that we've been holding the reins. for
Yes.
Not increase and we just can't anymore. Like we've had staff change. It's all things that we can't lose our staff. And we have minimal staff to begin with and we're the lowest paid, so.
And you look at towns everywhere, I mean,
Yeah.
their numbers are,
We have staff moving to other towns because other towns are paying more, so.
We've had other towns asking for our people, and wanting to pay them more.
Costs are just increasing astronomically. People's personal lives too, and
Right.
in addition, towns, businesses, it's having a real impact. A bad one, unfortunately. Can't keep going on like this.
Okay, so we have capital projects too, so if any of the things that you're talking about needed to be added to our capital projects, we need to know, so. Cause we do have money to put forward to capital projects, it's not in either of our budgets, so it doesn't affect the taxpayers.
Mhm.
So, if any of the projects you're talking about needed to be added to that, we need to know.
Generator.
generator and stuff.
What about the generator?
Generator.
I was gonna say, cause we need the generator in the winter. If people's power go out, it's for the whole town.
So that's what you bring up in that meeting.
But if they got money, they still.
Mhm. I figured you were- yeah.
There's no more
Okay, we
questions.
can, all right, well, it's 8:06 now, we can adjourn the budget hearing. Thank you for all that attended and for the thorough presentation, Adam, that was very helpful in terms of communicating to the community, all of our budgeting. Forecasting and obviously it's a moving target at all times, but it's good information for the public. So thank you for coming.
Thank you, Board Ed.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. so I
Sure.
have an update.
Well, we can, maybe they could move her update to the
Right.
beginning.
We'll call the Meeting the regular board meeting order, then we'll make a motion to move Tracy's version to the front of the meeting. Okay, so we will call the regular Board of Ed meeting for April 18th. At 8:07. Race to say the pledge of allegiance. I've been here. Should have stretched, but sorry about that.
Oh,
Something stretch. We're good. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, just.
it's okay.
Okay.
I'll leave when she leaves.
Okay, roll call for attendance.
Okay. We have Kate Beaupalant, Megan Wicks, Kathy Grant, Arika Kalwara is absent, Valerie Musciano, Sarah Thompson is absent, and Christopher Wilson. Also present is Adam Burrows, Amy Cefaletto, Lloyd Johnson, and we still have Tracy Hansen here as our guest.
I'll quickly say the Board of Education mission statement as we do monthly is for meetings. The Voluntown Board of Education's mission is to provide our students the skills essential to reach their highest potential in a safe environment for learning as they aspire to become responsible, respectful, and civic-minded members of society. We commit to help educate, challenge, and inspire each child to excel as lifelong learners who can adapt constructively in an ever-changing, multicultural, and technological world. So to get into the agenda, we kind of have a long agenda here. Hopefully we'll move to these, cruise through these. Let's try to we're not too late here, guys. But we will well, obviously our guest is Tracy, and then our consent agenda is here. If we do have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None heard. Motion passes. Great. And then do I have a motion to take item 4 of old business, safety and Route 138 to the front of the meeting?
Motion, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None heard. Motion passes. Okay, Tracy. So not to take up any more of your time.
All right, I have a couple of updates. I received a phone call from the state DOT last week. They approved the school signs as requested. There's still a process to this though. They're gonna be sending me a map of the location of all the signs. They're adding more signs. They're recommending the signs that exist have to be modified. We're going back and forth over who's modifying them, whether it's the town or the state. The state owns the signs, but they're saying that I own them. It's the ones with the flashing lights on them. The flashing light part and all the electrical stuff has to come off the signs. They have the state DOT has an electrician that's totally capable of doing this, but they're saying that I'm responsible for it and have to find either an electrician that can do it or a sign person that can do it. Cause I'm like, I don't really know who I'm supposed to find do this, cause my public works guys this isn't their wheelhouse.
So why do the lights have to come off the sign?
Then those signs are old and outdated. The signs that are up there now are old and outdated and they're not.
I thought you were talking about the new sign.
No, the new
Why
signs,
would you
no,
modify the new
they
sign?
want us to take the lights off the old signs. And put the new signs, but we obviously are paying to put the new signs up, and we have to install them as well. We have the funds to do that. I'm just waiting for them to send me the map. Cause when they send me the map, then I have to send it to, cause this is the state, the overall state DOT. When they send the map to me, I have to then send it to the regional DOT, which is District 2. And they're the ones that are gonna actually work with me, order the signs and put them in. They have to approve the map and then I have to apply for permits, for easements to work on the road. And that's the process I'm waiting for. I'm still waiting for the maps to come, because when I talked to them again today about another request that I had came through. And he said the maps will come electronically, so I don't know really what's taking so long to get them. But I did put a whole bunch of traffic requests through for the whole stretch of road out here. And they
After the news came?
no, actually before. I did it before the news came.
Oh my God.
So one of the other requests I put through, I got an answer on today, and that was, I requested that the speed limit be changed all the way from the Rhode Island border, all the way to the blinking light to 35 miles an hour. They did a full traffic study on this, and they called me today and told me that even though that stretch of road has more accidents on it than similar roads in other parts of the state, when they did their road test based on the angles and all of their road test stuff, it actually came out that the speed limit should be 55.
Oh,
miles.
no.
Yeah. I was like, please don't do that. So,
It already is kind of unofficial.
There's like the part that's like in front of your house is very different than the part that's like going down by the right,
It's gotta be fun.
so I mean, maybe you should have more than one.
Live speed.
No,
Yeah.
It changes right before my.
Yeah, it changes right at your house to like 45 to 45, and then it stays.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it goes from like 40 to, actually, I think, does it go to 40 in front of your house or 45?
I think it's 40 in front of my house,
Yeah.
45 when it
45
gets
is
to the
up around
cemetery.
the little cemetery, and then it stays 45 all the way through to the border, I think. Because it's only 30 like out in front of Chucky's, yeah. And so he was like, do you agree with this? And I said, absolutely not, I don't. So I'm like, so I put in that I didn't agree with it, he asked why, and I said, well, it's 40, it changes to 40 right before the busiest part of town, where it shouldn't be 40 there, people are turning, people are pulling out, there's too much going on. And on the other end, where it's 45, like when you come over from Rhode Island, we have Beach View Road, I think. It's right on the side there. It's like a totally blind road, like you can't see pulling out of there.
Coming off or onto Econ Hill can be an exercise in guts at times.
Yeah, he said that the road's classified as there's two classifications that the road has, and I can't remember what they are. But the main purpose of the road is to get people through quickly. And I
Drop down.
yeah. It's like, okay. He goes, it's called
Just flying through Voluntown.
enforcement problem and not.
We definitely do have that problem also. We've got lots of them.
Nobody cares about.
Officers address a fender bender at, the Y,
Yeah.
just a fender bender, a real true fender bender, where you have to crane your neck like this to see if there's a car coming, and you kind of slow foot, and the person just went like, you're doing the same thing, thinking this guy's going.
Yeah.
When
No, what they're,
Two police
the
came to that.
roads, a minor or they call it a minor arterial and a major collector road, so apparently those are terms for fast roads, so. So, I don't know, I tried and I didn't agree with it, so I don't know the process, what happens there, they're again supposed to send me all the paperwork and everything.
I just feel hopeful that, and that's good that they called you, that you're in like close to permitting,
Yeah.
The light thing just seems ridiculous because we've been battling that forever,
Oh,
and the
yeah.
existing light
Yeah.
problem,
Yeah.
that shouldn't be a barrier to being safe for school.
There's a sign, there's a sign, right near our like announcement sign that's out there, that it's like a giant sign with the people crossing the road.
Yes.
And they have light fixtures on the top of them, so there's one, they're old, they're from like, I don't know, the 2000s, and I don't even remember them ever working, so I don't know how long it's been since they.
The sign that said school zone would be.
Yeah.
Good, right, there's nothing.
Chris and I
There's
can
not.
probably go out and cut.
And he was saying that they were old, that them signs are old school signs, but when you're going through town. They say they have the sign with they're crosswalk signs, because they have the sign with people on them and it says ahead. When you pass the school, so I'm like, you can't tell me those are school signs, because they're not, they say ahead after you've passed the school, like, they're all at the crosswalks, they're crosswalk signs. So.
And is that just because there's a light attached to it, is that?
They just want the lights to come on, because they're,
part of it, it sounds like,
yeah,
because there's still wiring for those signs.
yeah, they're still electrically hooked up.
They could be plugged in.
Yeah, they're not recognized as their signs anymore, so they want the lights, cause I was like, do I have to take down the whole sign? He's like, no, just the lights, you can keep the other sign there. And I'm like,
Who installed them, the state?
the state did,
Yeah, they should
but there was a
Get rid of their
time,
own signs.
there was a time somewhere where the state.
Judgment that it's not linking.
There was a time period where the state was like, we're not paying for and we're not maintaining any signs that are electrical. Like this was before I was here. And that means like red lights, like anything that blinks, they're like, those are all part of the town now.
Probably like a checklist.
But we never got anything in writing that said we're responsible for these signs, and we don't pay for and maintain the blinking light that's in town. And there's also a blinking stop sign, like there's like on Rockville Road at the end, there's like a yellow sign with a stop sign on it that blinks, that warns people there's a stop sign there, like we don't pay for that either, so. I'm trying to tell them like, why do I have to do this? Like, why do I have to pay for it? Like, why do
Or
my
the
tax-
schools.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some locals that can go out there.
Cause it's like
The whole
well, one
electrical.
problem, but like,
Yeah.
maybe another one.
Yeah, it's like nothing's easy, but I still have two requests out there that I haven't heard answers yet, and one's for the red light at the end of 49 in Shetucket. And the other one, I put in a request for a 3-way stop sign at the end of Rockville Road. So I haven't heard back on those yet, so I don't know.
Too bad they don't still turn them into regular traffic lights that would
Right.
slow it all down.
Right.
Did I totally dismiss the idea of sidewalks? Because I know that. you
No, the
guys discussed
sidewalks,
that
we
too.
got a grant for the sidewalks, and where for the sidewalks would go, like right in front, they would be right in front of your house. To go from where it depends on how our funding comes out, because we have to get it engineered, and we got like $700,000 to $900,000, we got a huge grant for it. But when we applied for the grant, they told us that they didn't think that our full project was to have the sidewalks go from Claudia's, where the crosswalk is, where the kids cross, from Claudia's all the way down to Town Grill. Like that's our plan, because there's no sidewalks on that side of the road.
Right.
And even for kids that live in the houses across the street, like there's nothing there. So that's our original plan, but it depends on after we do, because we have to pay for the engineering too. So after we do the engineering, and it includes a little bridge, because there's a little brook there right before Town Grill.
Yeah.
So, and that's gonna include like permits and like water studies and probably a whole bunch of crazy costly things. So it depends on how much the estimates come to and how much of the sidewalk. we can do.
So if that moves forward,
Yeah,
then would they relook at the speed limit? Because now we have
I mentioned that
sidewalks
too.
that are being used. So now are they gonna say, oh, well, maybe it should only be 30 miles an hour?
No, it sounded like they didn't care about that. Because I did talk about that too. I said, over time, like cars are getting faster,
Yeah.
trucks are getting bigger, and the road's staying the same size. There's still no room for people or bikes or anything.
At that bridge area,
Yeah.
it's really,
Yeah.
if you're on a bike and 2 trucks go by, you
Yeah.
need to be jumping it off into the water,
Yeah,
literally.
and they said that, the cars on the road have the right of way. So, that's, cause I mentioned of all the people on
the throughway.
on Beach Pond Road, all the houses on Beach Pond Road, I get complaints and concerns from all the residents up there that it's like a death trap pulling out of their driveway. Cause you can't tell how fast people are going, and there's curves, and you can't tell.
And they said it's too slow, the speed limit.
Yeah, and he said it was too slow, and I was like, this is
I thought SPN's always had the right of way.
yeah.
No, because I've got like
Not Voluntown.
yelled at by,
I think there has to be crosswalks. for pedestrians.
well, no, well, I was walking over near the bridge and somebody with a big camper comes by and speak, get off the road, like yelling at me to get off the road because I was walking near the bridge. And so I guess they have that right of way, which I didn't realize. I figured a pedestrian on the road.
They have the right of way until somebody gets hit, and then it's not letting go.
Yeah, no, but the vehicles have the right of way. Yeah.
Okay, well,
That's been fun.
yeah. Well, we appreciate your efforts with them and just keep pressing.
Yeah.
With every day counts, I think, in this matter, and it is this whole town is behind this effort, so.
And another update, we ordered the radios for the buses. So, we finally got all the approvals through for that, and we just placed the order like a couple of weeks ago, so, I think it'll take a while for them to come, so we ordered them for the buses, the fire department, and for Public Works. And the same company, I think it's the same company that already does the radios for the school, so he's familiar, with everyone here, so.
And just a reminder on that, it's for use of like in an emergency,
Yeah.
so they all have the same call system, right?
It's emergency because right now they can go, the radios go out of range.
Right.
Because the buses travel over like Eastern Connecticut, so this would be for emergencies for when they are out of range or in range or anything, so. It goes on the signals bounce off the state towers, so they're all over the place, so it's better. It works perfect for us. There's only 2 schools that they allow on the system. Where the first one is Wellington, so. Because we have unique circumstances with our buses and our schools.
Good news.
Getting there eventually.
All right, well, thank you very much, Tracy.
Yeah.
We'll let you get
I'm
away. Appreciate all your help. Okay, so we can move to administrative report. Do you have a brief update for us?
Thanks, Johnson.
Yeah.
One highlight, we work with Griswold when we do Model UN. So our kids did that again this year. They had a good time. Griswold comes here and they also go to Griswold, so they get to experience. That's a nice year. The second year doing it.
I for this, but it's great.
Second year doing it, so we kept that up. We inducted our Honor Society kids tonight, 6 of them, right before the board meeting, so it was a good turnout. We probably had about 30 people there, so. That's it for me. Short and sweet.
Okay. Thank you. I need a brief. Wonka was great.
Wonka was great.
Phenomenal.
Wonka was great.
Yeah, that was a good turnout.
Gets better and better every year.
It does.
Each show gets better and better.
It does. I'll write it for the record.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, just kudos to Darlene and Kayla for, Barbara for all the efforts they did for that, for that event, because it's 50 kids, from ages, 7
Herding cats.
to 10,
Yeah.
11. So it's definitely hurting cats, and they had a full-blown medical event at one of them, so it's just, yes. Go ahead, give them lots of credit. Okay, well, we can move to the Director of Student Service report.
Just one short item.
Johnson,
This is a celebration of what Adam referred to, the power of a small district. We had a little emergency with equipment for one of our students who come to our attention just before the spring break. And I was able to find the resource for solving the problem, but Darlena Loranga, with Adam's permission, showed an awful lot of initiative in getting it done in 2 days. So we have a backup wheelchair for one of our youngsters. A new one arrived. Somebody forgot to, or didn't overlook ordering the headrest. And so we're waiting for a headrest, so the kid can't come to school. That's not acceptable. So we were able to locate a wheelchair in stock at Northeast Assistive Technology, NEAT, up in the Hartford area. A relatively reasonable amount of money, but Darlena took care of getting purchase order, making final phone calls. getting approval, drove up there Thursday, picked it up, brought it back, got it in the school. The student was able to return to school on time Monday. And, you know, how do you get something like that done in 3 days during a vacation? Not that she had the time off, but Adam approved for Maine. I was in Nyack, doing my little piece, but, I just wanted to acknowledge Darlene's initiative and getting this done. She did a nice job. Thank you.
Thank you, Darlene, that is incredible work on the break to ensure that no time was lost at school. Okay. Any questions for Mr. Dr. Johnson?
Lloyd, if you want to head out, it's okay.
Thank you.
And unless the board had any more questions for Lloyd.
We're good. How about Amy?
Thank you.
Want to stay for a minute, or are you ready to?
I'll say for a minute.
Okay. The superintendent report?
Yeah, Amy, are you okay with staying a little bit, or you sure?
Yeah, they wanna check for the program, we're just gonna figure out what we're gonna do.
Okay, well, that's the math program, and Amy is staying here. I'd like to, do the math program now. So that, I mean, she's been at school for so much, so if you wanted to, you could leave, unless we also have the personnel. That would be the other issue.
Oh, yeah, that's fine, I can say.
Okay.
We can make a
with-
motion. I'm
with
gonna
my-
leave it from the Val's house tonight.
I'm gonna drive 30 going there, and I'll bring my van there.
Yeah, sidewalk.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sidewalk.
I'm just including in the minutes, I reported my calendar of events, the enrollment. We've served 17,117 meals so far this year. Last year, we served 30,000. And then the year before, we served 42,600 because everything was free. What a great year. And I think that the kids had a nutritional year. We've expended 77% of the budget. So we're holding our own, and I'm looking at end of the year balances if there are any savings to help. We've returned $90,921 to the town so far this year. The educated diversity plan submitted was acknowledged by the state. And then let's see. There's a need to schedule a transportation committee, and I'm looking at Tuesday, the 23rd at 7 p.m. here in this room, so we can go over some of our transportation numbers. Okay, YSB met yesterday, and they have had a significant amount of programs. We've had increased enrollment. And our balances are somewhat low because we've done so many programs. And if we have an overflow, we try to add rather than send students away. So is it possible to add up to $2,000 to the Board of Ed account 3,300? And I don't know whether I would need this money, but I'm just telling you, I would like to do that, and then as we get down to the end of the year, we could transfer money into there to help get by, but it's for programming for kids. And we just have been having a great season, so and we do charge nominal fees for some programs, but we don't want to be at the end of the year and say, no, we have to cancel a program because of the funds. We're very close. And the YSB board said, maybe asking for up to 2,000, we might not have to use it, but just to have that buffer. I don't think the board needs to take a motion. I think if you're just aware of it, and then when we, get to the end of the year, we're approving our budget adjustments for transfers, but it's for a worthy cause, okay? Let's see, I'm including the capital improvement plan within my superintendent's report, and that's it for me, Kate.
Okay, so, let's adjust to, address the items for Mrs. Sepulveda to review with us. If I can have a vote to move items number 5 from old business, the purple math program update, and the item number 3 of new business personnel. Ahead. All in favor?
Aye.
I need the full, increase the contribution also. Okay.
Oh, that was that's okay. I had 9, she'll text me.
So can we include the new business number 4 in that as well?
New business number 4 as well to the final. Okay.
Maybe we can get out by 9 if we include it all in one.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, none heard, motion passes. Okay, we will start with item number, well, we reviewed under old business, the budget's done, that's
Yeah.
checked off, so that's.
No, there needs to be a motion, just on the budget to,
Do you want to do Amy's first? And then
it doesn't matter
Yes, okay,
because
we're
we're
gonna
just
do
gonna
Amy's
have.
first and then we can.
Good.
Run. Yes, okay, so let's talk math program.
So math is that what we talked about last time, so that's up to the board if they want to move forward with that program, that, Eureka.
And that's been vetted and.
That's the one that we vetted, we went to Stonington, we went to Dean's Mill, we did the whole thing there. We've been utilizing Leffins, that's the one, I brought them last time, left them in the boardroom. We wanted to see them, I worked with the person, she actually gave me half the price off the PD, because I was like, we don't have any money. So, how much would it cost you?
That was way cheaper than the other.
It was like 5,000, I was like, we cannot. So she actually gave it to me for half, these 2 sessions that you need to implement the program, so when you purchase anything like that, you have to do the PD with it, or else it's useless, you can't expect people to, come up with it. Right, so, that would just be part of that cost, and we'll use that day that we have now in June, so that people can learn the program, and because teachers are teachers, they spend their summer, and they want to prepare and get ready, so at least I'll have the training first, and then be able to utilize the program through the summer and then plan that. But that's up to the board, like I said, we talked a lot about it last time, the curriculum committee met, we reviewed it, etc. But it's up.
And the other one was, how long you typically, I think you said the other one was like 8 year, is it?
The other one's old, yeah.
How long would you typically expect to use this?
I think you would just, we here in Voluntown typically use things until like it becomes obsolete, essentially, so, it's something that you just.
They don't like the other one anymore, do they?
The other one that we have is going,
Oh,
so we've had it quite a long time, just keep updating the workbook every time. But it's becoming harder and harder when you need pieces like a manual or something, you can't really get them, so
So
that.
it's time to move on.
Sometimes it's time to move on, so we moved on and, math
This is
always
essential.
gets the wayside, right, so it's reading, so.
It's just a shock because I think it should, I think it should be on 1-for-1, but.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
man.
all your grants are reading grants, all your, it's never about math. But it is probably time to do like an update into. the
Please note,
2020s.
There's money in this year's budget right now, I've encumbered it, I think it was like 17,900.
Yep.
We're using this year's funds because we had planned for this. And if we purchase it now, the materials could come in so the teachers have that for the end of the year and they can plan for next year.
Right, so you need a motion to approve the math program upgrade.
So
I'd make that motion. Unless you did.
Wilson, who's seconding?
I
Okay.
second.
Oh,
The math
Mallory,
person has to
okay.
second.
Yeah. Look at, post second with that.
who was that person,
Valerie,
Keep moving.
I know, for the board, yep. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, none heard. Motion passes. Okay, then we do wanna review personnel. Item number
Yeah.
3 on new business. the Spanish language teacher?
So we went through the interview process. We did have one applicant. And this applicant was coming from North Carolina, planning to move back up here into Voluntown. This person, can I say this person's name? Okay, because we're gonna hire them. Rebecca Ricciuti, excuse me, it's Ricciuti. She was formerly Rebecca Musser. She is a Spanish teacher by trade here in Connecticut, went down south, went into IT and administration. So she has lots in her bag of tricks, but she's moving back up here anyways. So she plans on, coming here, just the timing of how it fell. She's building a house here, actually, in our boss. Yeah, so she loves Spanish, so she went to school for it originally. We had a great interview with her, so we did it virtually, and then she came up during her vacation and taught a lesson to our 6th graders. So we chose 6th grade because they would have her. And they really liked her. We asked them after, like, what did you think? They were like, and I'm like, okay, how do you, then they're asking me after, did you hire her? I said, we're gonna hire people. So we will talk about it when the time. So they really did enjoy her and like her. So, and so did the committee. So that is the person we are putting forward for Spanish.
Okay,
If that's what board wants to
do you
do.
need a motion for that?
We do need a motion.
Motion?
Second,
Now, as part of the discussion, are we still keeping the other Spanish teacher part-time for the younger kids, or we just, okay?
I'd like to add for discussion and the record that this is something that we've all on board aligned for a long time, and I think the French teacher, while it was helpful, was a stopgap to getting Spanish, which will greatly enhance
Yeah.
our youth's abilities just to succeed in this country in years going forward, and I'm really excited about this.
And so now with her, we'll focus on the 6th to 8th program for them. She reached out to me a couple of times. She's very excited. She, contact the other high schools, what books do they use, etc. Just to see, to try to keep in line with what they're doing. Those things.
What do we vote?
Now as long as the discussion is complete, we can make a vote. All in favor of hiring Rebecca Rizzuti as the new Spanish language teacher for the middle school for 2024-25?
Aye.
Aye.
Good.
Resolutely aye.
Yes.
All in
Conviction.
favor? All in favor, there's no nays, so we're unanimous, motion passes.
That's another coup for us too. Teachers in general are hard to find, and language teachers are almost impossible to find in Connecticut. We have a whole school and a Spanish teaching,
Yeah.
and we're just like fantastic.
People are connected here, right? So like, that's the key.
Yeah.
I put it on Facebook, I made it like, and that's.
Moved on, I was like, that is very specific.
Very
specific.
Right? Always somebody.
And then once they get here, they really don't leave.
They stay
No.
entire.
Because they see
Yeah,
them
and
in
that's
school.
I was like, Kate and I are a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
Right?
It's so
Can't get
true.
rid of us.
Sorry, let's doing some notating.
It says Spanish/middle school teacher, is that
That's
all?
the same thing.
Yeah,
And then custodian going away.
We do have a resignation, yes. So
okay.
This is a wonderful hire. She is really very, very special, and she knows her stuff, so it's gonna be a wonderful addition to the school district.
Okay, as also part of personnel, we have received a resignation from Cynthia Cook
Mhm.
as a custodian. Do we have a motion to accept this resignation?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Sadly,
With regrets, yeah.
with regrets for sure. Any nays, none heard, motion passes. Are we hiring for anything?
we've posted internally, we didn't post in the city, but we just ended up posting, but I will, once Darlene posts it again to the outside, and I'll try to put it through social media. It's 3:30 to 9. I saw somebody saying like, do you work? Do you want to check? You know, it's hard to, you know,
It's a hard slot, yeah.
depends what people are looking for. It's not a hard job, it's just.
Well,
Yeah,
what,
it's 5:30 to 9, you know. A young kid.
oh, good luck. Okay, our last motion for personnel, is to accept the retirement from Lynn McCullough as of June 30th, 2024. With regrets and great appreciation for all the work that she's put in as a speech pathologist.
Yeah.
Okay, motion from Kathy, second. Second. Anyone else? Okay.
With
Okay.
regrets, we don't have.
With regrets, right, no.
Clearly, nobody.
I was like, first year, I was told like not acceptance for patrons.
All in favor?
Aye. What if we all just vote no on that? See you next year.
Yeah. Motion passes. Okay, well, and then, oh my God, that's a black spider on me. Okay, that's great. Okay.
She took care of that.
Problem, you're back someday. That's great. Add exterminator to the capital projects of this room. I said okay, so we were moving ahead on 8th grade graduation as well.
And what?
And so the 8th grade graduation,
okay. Yeah.
so we're determining the date as, so we feel that the Tuesday 11th is the best for all.
But it's not NFA and not crippled. Or, and nobody else has siblings, so we look at siblings and then we go through the extent of who's, you know, I don't want to have to choose between. And it's gonna be 6 p.m. because they can't stand the sunlight in our eyes back there, so I said.
Thank you.
People get out of work,
Yes.
but the sunlight, I was like, we cannot.
It gives them time to get.
It's time,
clean up.
people need to get changed. and,
Yeah.
It's not a long ceremony, you can still go to eat after, you
Yeah.
can still do all that.
What, wow, how long, I mean.
Not even, probably like 40 minutes.
2 minutes or something, she has it down to a science.
Every year, you're
Every
like
year.
in general out, everybody just moves along.
I'm the longest with my, I try to like sneak it in 5 seconds into my speech, just
So
mess with
clear.
our timing.
Expect her to bring out the cows probably.
And it will be rain or shine, so if it's raining, then we're just gonna move inside. And because people plan,
Yeah.
they travel, they come up.
Oh, it makes sense, yeah.
We'll make that motion. I approve June 11th.
Oh, second.
You.
And John will be very happy, she's been out her documents.
Yeah.
And all that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's not heard, motion passes. Okay, thank you very much.
Get that still. Shut it off.
I got it, okay, you got it, keep on it.
Yes, I will do that.
Okay, so we will get back to item number 1, old business, to wrap up the last elements of our budgetary
We
process.
need to go back to the motion for the
Yeah.
budget. Okay, fine. Set the tone.
This is feel like very cheap.
There's savings. Have a good night. Thank you. Okay.
I'll just read it off. You know, the motion to approve the 18 budget proposal for 2024-25 of $7,337,023. That has an increase of $281,689 or 3.99%. And forward it to town hall.
Motion.
Okay. Motion?
Somebody's got a second.
No. Can I second it?
Yeah.
I can second it, I second it, okay,
Who seconded it?
I will,
Oh,
none heard. Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? None heard.
I think put me as opposed. I don't know.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's part of an increase of 3.9%.
I know.
A town to
Well, we have to get this in.
follow.
We had this, we kind of decided this last meeting, Megan.
No, I'm entitled to oppose Kathy.
Yeah, that's
I'm
fine.
not, I'm
That's
entitled to do that, so.
I feel torn, I want to oppose it too, but I wasn't here last meeting, so. The 4%'s killing me,
No, it's just.
it's just killing me.
The last meeting we did an effort to
Right.
reduce it.
To reduce.
We were
it.
hoping that it would go down a little bit more before this,
What was it last meeting, was it still 4%?
It was over before, so we got it down.
Jesus.
And since then, that new special ed kid came in.
Well, it's not a new person that came in.
Well, no, but they bumped up their course.
35, they're anticipating, or they're planning for a 35% increase on their,
Yeah.
but it may not be that, but.
Right, that's what's so hard with this, is that
Right, yeah.
it's such a, it's a point in time number that just.
I'll oppose it too. I mean, it was, yeah.
This is where how we're gonna is the problem. Like I've gone through this a million times, and it's just.
I don't think the first thing would be the Spanish teacher. We don't need a Spanish teacher. It's nice, but we don't need one. That's a nice thing to have, but we
I
don't.
mean, it wouldn't have to be the Spanish teacher. I mean, we could look, we've talked in the past about, can we combine some of the technical resource with some of the technical learning? We
Adam,
talked
when do you
about
have to
that.
submit this by? Adam, when do you have to submit the budget by?
Well, the board approves sending a budget to the town hall. It sits there, they review it, and then you come back at the May 9th meeting, and there may be some revisions based on what I've, researched and seen. But the issue here is that, the Board of Education needs to at least let the town know, what is a good plan for meeting the needs of the students.
Right.
And the issue is the Board of Education, legally is responsible for at least showing the community what is needed. Now, when I was on the Board of Finance in another community, we got the Board of Ed money and the proposal, and then that's the group that looks at the money and says, we can't afford that, and then they say, they either pass it or they turn it down. But at least the town and the citizens have an opportunity of what they think is is a good plan of action for, a budget and continues the education program that we've had. And we've been fortunate. We had 5 no increase budgets, and we've had no property tax increase budgets. But things catch up, but we need to do things. Now, the board has a choice. They can not include things in the operating budget and reduce it by those, and then just ask the town for some kind of capital improvement plan. And if the board wants to reduce the budget, give me a number to work with, and then I'll have to work with a plan. But it's my preference to say, this is what the kids and the faculty in the school district needs. Approve this, and we can see what happens. And if the town approves it, so be it. But is this a Board of Finance or is this a Board of Education? And you have to decide, which direction, you're going to go with, making a statement to the community is this is our education plan.
I just think with a 4% increase, Tracy's already said that there's a good chance that that the town is gonna shoot it down.
Oh, that's fine.
So-
Go back at that point,
Right,
you know.
or we could at this point say,
Get out ahead of it.
Once-
let's get ahead of it and say, you know, we were at 4.5% last time.
We got it down.
And we've gotten it down. You know, do we submit this or do we, you know, then it goes to the voters and they say, you know what, we're not okay with 4%, we're not okay with any percent. And now we're trying to cut 4% out of our budget to get it down to a zero budget again. That's my concern, is that it's such a big jump.
Yeah,
That,
and that's your opinion is, I mean, just not, bad, but like you,
There's
our
only,
town doesn't have any, you know. Wherewithal
Yeah.
to see any percentage increase, you know, and that's, I mean, I think, you know, it's. something
Our
to think
tax
about.
burden's already. And other economic, I mean, speaking as a taxpayer, we already have a lot of economic uncertainty. Inflation. We pay exorbitant taxes in this state, and those are things. I take strongly into consideration, even as a Board of Ed member, working at the Board of Ed budget, and you kind of have to balance the two, and 4%'s a lot of money. And the town's coming in, although that doesn't influence my decision either, the 4% did. And again, I really wish I was here last month because I feel like I'm throwing a wrench kind of. But it's still my prerogative and I'm going to stick with my no vote.
I think at this point, I mean, we have the handicap van and the Spanish teacher, right? So there's $160,000, which is a 2% increase rather than a 4% increase. At this point in time, I'm not okay with saying no to a Spanish teacher. So I'm gonna say yes, because I'm not okay with saying no to the Spanish teacher. But I really have a hard time with a 4%, and I really think the town's gonna come back and we're gonna end up cutting Spanish, cutting handicap van, whatever, and having to go to the
I
town.
guess that's the question is, to your point before, right, is. You know, ARPA was talking last month about, do we need to look at, do we need 4 special education teachers, do we? You know, again, looking at the technical, is there ability for the, if we have somebody who's a 0.25 technical learning teacher, can that be absorbed under Mr. C, right? And depending on, now that he's gotten a lot of things cleaned up, maybe he has a little bit more capacity. You know, doing it proactively like this gives us the ability to control where the dollars come from, because I agree, I don't want it to come from the Spanish teacher, right?
Well,
So.
fire panel can help come from the town, you know, like, I think we should
Correct,
do
right.
like the
Well,
kids.
that's, I mean, that's.
Kids
that's
learning, you
what-
know, it should be impacted by like what is
Yeah.
required
Correct,
to.
well, that's exactly what Val is saying,
Right.
is if we should be proactive about, before we send it to the town, taking the money where we potentially wanna take it from. Do we take the fire panel out and put that under the, you know, Tracy made a comment that capital expenditure doesn't impact the taxpayers, I mean, it does.
So close it to this.
The money is from taxpayers, right, but, you know,
we got a bunch of capital fund money they can use. for
correct,
this.
that's why I'm saying, you know.
But can the
That's why-
handicap van be covered in that?
Right, so that's why I'm opposed, is because I would actually rather control where, if we're gonna have to come back with a lower increase, I would rather be proactive and control where it comes from, because I wouldn't want it to come from a Spanish teacher or something that we truly need, so.
Well, if the town, if the town refuses the budget, then it goes back to the Board of Education. And you have that control, you know, so.
Yeah.
I
but
think
that's
our-
concerned. I can say, well, try again, you know, that's what she, and which is a possibility, you never know the way that it's gonna go, so.
Well, you're right, and you have to think, impact that we've got these teachers that are, you know,
We're gonna lose them.
well, yeah, they have the right to go to another school, so we need 5 teachers that are on call to be,
We lose 5.
go make more money.
Yeah, but they don't, because we all,
Well,
it's not all about money, and we always hear how we need to pay teachers more and more, and it's ridiculous. Yeah, they retire here. Keep trying to throw money at a problem we don't need to throw money at.
notice
Yeah,
and
Okay.
stuff that we want to keep it.
That's
up.
and I also think,
There's a lot of things that keep teachers here that aren't just money.
yeah,
Yeah.
And we know, we understand that, it's just, it's the risk of pushing this out.
I get it,
Yeah.
I totally get it, it's just a weighing, right, you weigh your pros and your cons, right, and so.
Yeah, and what we're saying is that this is a point in time that we have to present to the town as, you know,
And
we've done
then
the
it
hearings,
comes
the
back
public
in
is
2 or
heard.
3 weeks and we redo it.
Right. Which sounds like might actually happen, you know, at this point in time, so.
we could use our special meeting, the end, our second meeting in April if we have to, I mean, there's no,
And see.
and if it comes down to it. It comes down to it, it just depends on.
Adam,
Yeah,
how long does it go out to the town for?
well, we put it down at town hall probably Monday, and then, it sits there, and then we have another meeting on May 9th. And if there's some concerns by the town, the board can adjust that before sending it into the, town meeting or the referendum.
So we could put it out, see what the feedback is.
Yes, you can.
We'll get
And
back
we
maybe
have,
for me.
We have some changes from the other budget, but the board said that the priority was, you know, replacing the fire panel. And I think that I found a way to do that within the context, but it does require an increase. And the handicap ban, we have a requirement to meet the needs of students, and you know, does this mean that we cut that? We cut
No,
that?
So I asked me if we could go to this.
Right,
That's what I
or it means that we look at other areas operationally that maybe are not as streamlined as they could be, right, so.
Well, as we stand, we have a motion on the,
Right,
motion
so-
and
so
Val's.
Val-
The areas that you wanted to look at were technology,
Arica had thrown out that 4 special education teachers for our population seemed to be a little bit excessive.
special education, we already reduced a special ed position to speech and language.
Yeah, but she was talking about, Amy said we have 4 actual special education teachers outside of your
Yes,
speech and
And-
language and OT.
and, you know, those teachers, we brought back a very expensive outplacement. And we're handling, well, we brought back more than that, but we're handling those outplacements here in the building.
Going back
If we can't meet their needs because we're reducing special ed, then we'll have to move to outplacements.
About looking at it, right?
Yeah, we
Same
can't,
with-
yeah, we won't speak.
Same
for
with
her.
it, right, correct, she just said, that seemed a little bit off, right? It was just a snap response, not after looking at anything specifically.
Okay,
I think looking at, if Mr. C has had a chance to clean up a lot of our technology, maybe he can take on some of that technical instruction. We could look at, I certainly don't think it's taking it from Spanish or some, just flat out cutting the last few things that we've added. I think it's just making sure that we're effectively using what we have.
Yeah, it interests me, anytime you hear about somebody wanting to cut an education budget, you always get chimed in with the same old song and dance, we have to cut teachers, we have to cut this, sounds like the CEA's in the room.
I was gonna say, everything is pretty cut, and, we don't have a lot of fat in our budget with Adam, but.
No, I mean,
I'll note it,
Yeah.
I'll note it, yeah, that's
So-
all good, so we
so
have.
So I will continue, I will keep my.
No, yes,
Ditto.
yes, motion passes to present as we have it, and we are in discussion of areas as
We're gonna
needed.
meet May 9th. Should we be, the next meeting be next week, we won't even be out for like a week.
Well, the
We-
town won't have,
we
met
even
even
got it out
on it
yet.
yet, so.
So the 4th meeting, we can't really do. Because of doing this late.
Okay,
And nothing against Adam, I have great respect for putting the budget together and what he feels is necessary to run the school system. Just a 4%, and I've always been very consistent on being It's just, that's a lot. There's a lot of burden on the taxpayers too, and that's something that certainly needs to be brought into consideration in this room and in the budget process, and it's just.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money, $250,000. It's, when you start translating it into mill rates combined with the town increase, it's, I just don't want to revolt at the referendum. I want our budget to pass, and
Right.
you know, the town, we're team kind of, but the town's the town. And I really want our budget to pass and have what we want for the best interest of our students, and 4% might be tough. As well, combined with a town increase, people may just walk in there and know. And that'll be that, then we would be in much bigger trouble than having a discussion here.
Yeah.
Now, there's always that.
And it's a scary
That's,
thought.
yeah, the circumstance, I mean, the fact that I don't know if we've ever had a referendum for, well, you know, for that particular thing, so that's another.
Well, for what?
Okay,
For
so.
yeah, we didn't-
Oh, yeah.
I just looked at it as,
So there was
this is the
no-
budget, and the means, the same means as we are now.
You did approve it,
Yes,
okay.
so we're gonna, yeah, we'll.
You know, yes, there's work to be done, and if you don't want what's a good percentage? For some people, it's 0, correct?
Yeah, I don't think.
No, 0 is
First
not
of all,
realistic.
That's for expecting 0. You know, I wouldn't think, I can't speak for you, but I would,
Like zero infections anyway.
I would anticipate that there would be some sort of increase with the increase of, you know,
No more than 2, I would,
right,
which is still a big number, right?
Yeah. or low 2 even, would be a little bit easier to swallow than a 4.
I also think that'll help at the town meeting. You can truthfully say, we've literally been fighting and dragging this out to the last minute.
It is no way wise.
True, but if we look at it,
Not be anything no way wise.
well, last year we had a $205,000 increase.
Right.
This year we're having it was nothing, but now on top of it, we're having a $282,000 increase.
It was no mills last year. We
Right, because
had
we had a
no mills.
reevaluation.
Of the revow.
Yeah.
Now we're doing another
Right.
revaluation.
It's still
because
a
it was
big
back
check.
down, We don't know what it's gonna work.
Yes, my check was bigger, even though the mill rate did not go up, and
Well, and this is all going to.
it's unsustainable.
Yeah, if they change,
500,000.
what you're talking about, dropping the property tax on cars,
That got crushed,
did it?
yes.
That's gonna completely blow
Can
everything.
you imagine a 90% assessment rate for your property tax? That was what Hartford was talking about for homeowners when they wanted to get rid of their car tax.
Okay, all right.
I mean, so to answer your question, I would be more comfortable at 2%. To answer your question.
Low 2 to low 2 is a general preference.
And not 2.999.
That's you on the table.
Last year was 200, this year is 281, so if we can cut this year's in half. So that the increase this year is not as much as it was last year, like cutting it in half. And having $140,000 increase instead of another almost $300,000 increase, I think it would be a little bit easier to sell.
We've retained a 0 budget for a long time or decrease, so it's just.
Right, I'm just looking at 3 years.
Right, I mean, we've also had decline in enrollment, there's like a lot of, you can't just take a snapshot. There's a lot-
Retirements.
Correct, there's a lot of.
That's always in the balance of like, yeah, how.
On the flip side, you can argue this year, we only had a 2% on your health insurance increase, why do we have 4%, like. If we have like a 12%
Stuff like that,
health
it's like
insurance
the same thing.
increase,
Now,
then you're like, okay, that just completely slammed us and there's literally nothing we can do, well. Then we look at other health insurance stuff, but. I can't even
Full-time
get there with
Spanish
health
van
insurance.
specialist.
I can't even get there with health insurance, the health insurance only came back with a 2% increase, it's like.
That's no answer.
Easily.
Yeah, 100 and what was that outplacement, $160,000, and you just have to.
There's
For
real
what?
things, right? I mean, it's like,
There's nothing you can do about that, other than hope to bring them back, that's what he was saying, bring them back next year.
People are getting fat off of us is what that is, I believe. Financially.
I mean, it's, looking at where it's.
It's for this children's needs,
So do we need to decrease the number of schools that we send our students to?
How would that decrease the budget?
Send them all to Stonington, towards Stonington, Wheeler.
We send them to ones that don't have crazy numbers for their.
They
special
can't,
ed.
but they can't support, like,
You
the
still gotta
students
send
can't, those schools can't support
What the
that
special
level
ed.
of student.
Right, okay, so
That's
we
going
talked
on.
about NFA versus Griswold and what.
Griswold
their
can't support it,
special-
and Richmond cannot support
What,
it.
not special ed?
That
Adam,
one's just.
No,
For anybody.
our total number.
They
Adam,
can't take us back.
can you speak a bit about, earlier you mentioned your fellow superintendents. And you noticed an increase in high schools for tuition and special ed.
Yeah.
Is that general across the board?
NFA was 3.5%. Griswold was 3.
We're asking for some too,
The
We can't control that,
That's the problem.
right?
and they're asking 3% when they held, they held steady. During the COVID years, they did like 0% or maybe like a 5%, like, or 0.5%, and now they're going for a full donkey 3, like with their tuition. I mean, everyone's looking for their number, so. I think we're feeling.
And when it gets down to the
One
local
special
small
ed
town
outplacement
level, it's. whole
Was
gamut.
one special ed placement was a 35% increase.
High school,
And that's a requirement.
That's the 157, if you look at it on the special ed chart, they raised their tuition.
Transportation, like, there's a whole kind of,
Well,
but
then
it could be like a
said,
senior autism program or something like that, there's probably other ones.
you can't choose, parents can choose where they want their kids to go.
they can't choose from our sending schools, they get to pick.
Well, some kids going to our sending schools, they're going to other schools, they'll be on.
Yeah, they can't just go online and search a school and say, here, Lloyd, I want my kid to go here, like, that's part of it, discussion.
They can do that, they should pay for it.
No, that's what I'm saying, is they can't, they
No.
can't just say, here, I want you to send my
But
kid to
kids
the
go on-
Bronx.
The kids go in the learning lab, can't be handled at NFA.
No, I understand, I
Okay,
understand that, what I'm
They
saying
won't
is,
take them.
what I'm saying is,
alright,
They can't
one particular place that we send, there might be 3 others in the state of
Yeah,
it might be just that we choose to send our child there, it doesn't mean that the parent can call tomorrow and say, I want my kid to go here.
but the ones that, I do know the ones at the learning lab and those places. When we had one a couple of years ago going to the place in Montville, which was like $100 grand. They wouldn't be taken at NFA.
Oh,
or
yeah,
Griswold.
no,
They
and
had, that
nobody's
was
saying
the
that a
closest
child that
outbreak
needs to be
that was taken.
outplaced should not be outplaced.
Correct.
Nobody, not a
Nobody
single
else.
one of us is saying that.
correct.
We're just saying that,
We
a
want
piece of
every
this is
advantage any
making sure
student
that
can
we're
get.
looking
Yeah.
at things
And
with both the fiscal and the educational lens on it.
That's right, correct. Okay. I think there's been good discussion on that, and respect for time and the fact that this is gonna be ongoing, and I'm assured of it. Can we move to item number 2, federal and state grants?
Budgets is a great way to,
Yeah.
grants are the good stuff.
I get it. It's fascinating how we set that budget up, Chris, right? They do that. Let's get a good news story after that. So do we have any updates on grants, or is it pretty?
No, well, within the minutes, and this is one of the other factors, the federal government grants are, diminishing, but fortunately, the Congress in November was funding, they had an 80% cut in our Title I grant, but the recent budget passed and they restored the funds. So rather than getting the November amount of $10,000, we're gonna receive $50,000. So that was the difference between, the funding that was coming out of Congress. And it was fortunate that they just recently changed that. From 2021 to 23, the grants that we received equaled $923,372. And the grants from 23-24 we're back to about 100 and, I've got to figure it out, but, back to about 120,000. So we went through a period where we were getting some additional help, and that helped with our maintenance budget because we could do capital projects for funds that were, pinpointed for such issues. And that's what the building committee is working on right now. I guess I'll come back to you with how to approach the grant, but if the budget needs to be cut, we'll have to make a decision about whether we're gonna get a handicap van, but we still have to transport the child safety. And so I have to look at
Are we
it.
gonna have a second time we have to transport next year?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, so we're gonna have to.
you
do
know,
something.
so I will just see what I can do with that, but that's where it is. If there's any other grants, I've been looking for them and certainly will continue to apply. But the funds right now have, kind of dried up a little bit.
I think the handicap van is. You can't have the paras pushing, and I remember when the paras were picking the wheelchair up, we've come a long way, but still. I mean, you could slip on a little bit of slush and then,
Things got worked forever.
and God forbid the child. Yes. I mean, that would be catastrophic.
If you're purchasing it from, offer any sort of trade-in for your existing. Cause you were talking about
Oh,
the existing van, do they do it?
No, they wouldn't, we would just return that to the town for surplus.
Like
they-
the actual van would go. to
Yeah,
the town?
or,
Could we
the
put it out
town
to
would,
bid?
put it into auction.
Yeah, the town has to do
Get
that.
Yeah.
But if you could get it as a trade-in, then it would come off the cost of the vehicle, which is why I was.
Well, I
asking.
can talk to him about accepting a trade, but, I'm not sure that, the value would be that high.
I'm sure it gets rough
We
use.
could also, if it went to the town, we could also see if Tracy would be willing to allow us to put the cost towards. Similar to what you did for like the oil tank. The
She
generator.
didn't sound like she wanted the van.
What?
She didn't sound like she wanted the van.
No, the money, if we can get a company to buy, right, the money goes to the town, and
Yeah,
then we
yeah.
can use the money to offset the cost of the van, is what I'm saying.
It's still functioning okay,
Yeah.
correct?
But it won't work with two kids.
Could we use just, so Brian Callio maybe has a utility vehicle of some sort if he has to pick up equipment or, I mean, could he use a van?
It's not that.
He's a maintenance guy, I mean, I'm sure he has to go pick up parts, tools, kit, gear.
How is that currently happening?
Right, how does he use his own car to do
They
it?
probably.
See, that could be a liability too, I mean, if we just have a van. Hollowed out in the back, kicking around for that sort of thing. I could just help the school out. Teachers and anybody who needs.
Well, that's not to do with
The
grants.
grants, the
No.
motions to be made
Do we have motions for grants?
for the grants,
Oh,
page 6,
Let me just,
at the bottom of the page.
oh,
Motion to authorize the superintendent to submit the federal REAP grant.
the REAP grant, okay, yes.
Motion,
Second. Okay, Chris, Kathy, I'll go to you, sorry. Chris, C and G really have a hard time here. Okay, all in favor to authorize the superintendent to sign and submit the federal REAP grant?
Aye.
Favor, unanimous, motion passes. And motion to authorize the superintendent to sign and submit the 2024-25 IDEA grant.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, Megan. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, none heard, motion passes. Okay, and a final authorization for the superintendent to sign and submit the 24-25 school readiness quality enhancements grant.
Motion.
Sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None heard, unanimous, motion passes. Okay. Item number 3, the NFA contract update.
Oh, the NFA contract, we've been in discussions. I have a meeting coming up with the area superintendents, and we're closing in on finalizing the contract with NFA. Once the partner schools superintendents and the director become available, I'll send you a copy, and then we'll have to review that and sign it. It's for 2025, 2030. So there will be some time to review that and see what happens.
Are they keeping the same tuition system that we have now?
Yes,
With NFA?
it talks about the whole process and how things develop. I know that I met last summer and I had some recommendations, and Nate Quisnell did include those within their restructuring a little bit of the special ed programs and what happened. So I might have something to the board maybe by the June meeting.
Yeah, I had heard it's gonna, your price of special ed at NFA, it's gonna include your PT, OT, all in that tuition. Your para, whatever. So if it's 44,000,
They include that.
yeah.
Griswold adds
it's
it
not-
on.
They're gonna add it on. So going into NFA, it's gonna be 44, period,
Period.
yeah, regardless. But that's what,
Much easier.
Lloyd was.
That makes it easy for,
Yeah, it's easier for budget.
yeah.
So you don't have to worry that really, that kid that needs counseling and OT, PT, and then it's not gonna cost you, suddenly you thought it was gonna be 21,000 at Griswold. And now, and then it's gonna be 65,000 at Griswold.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how those numbers work out. Yeah, we need a year or two to look at them.
Their numbers, so it breaks on their side, more or less. And,
Of course,
yeah, they're not,
but we have
they're not trying to lose money on people.
Just, trying to make it more
Yes.
seamless in terms of
Seamless.
budgeting purposes and
Everything.
that you can understand where the money's coming from, so. Transparent is what I'm saying. Okay, so thank you for that update on the contract, that's ongoing. We did item number 4 for safety, item number 5, we already did. For wood math, so final old business item is the policy 4112 spot 52, the criminal history record information.
I think last week we had asked if Mr. C had reviewed this.
And he did,
He did.
I got
That's in line
confirmation,
with everything he's doing.
yes. I got confirmation on that.
Okay. Then I think we have a
So,
motion to
yeah, we
approve
would
it.
have the motion to approve this as presented,
motion.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so sorry, forgive me the motion, it was,
Chris,
and then
Val.
thank you,
I asked the question.
thank you. Oh my God.
Thank you with the question.
Thanks.
Okay, well, okay. Thank you, just because I'm taker too, okay. Great, so we can move to item number 1 of new business is policy 5131, spot 911. This is the first reading for school climate.
Yeah, I'd like to propose that we move this to a second reading. I'd really like Arica to weigh in on this.
That's interesting, all the changes in it.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I agree. I think it's just definitely requires second reading. So we will do that. Item number 2, Karma update.
You kind of gave them.
Which one?
Karma, so we're moving on
Oh,
to
the
new business
Karma.
again. and
Yeah,
to-
just a quick statement, for the Karma. We're currently down, 2 bus drivers due to recent resignations. We have implemented a temporary solution by having Preston Bus Coordinator help us with emergency situations. He has come over and helped drive some of our buses. We were required to take emergency steps with arranging parent. Drivers, Megan Works requested that we also take check with our school attorney on liability and verify proper insurance coverage. We've fully implemented through directives from our attorney and KERMA, the proper procedures, requirements, and legal documentation for parent drivers. So, we have a form and everything related to and referencing state legislation with regarding this, and our insurance company was also involved, and Dan, approved the process. So that's the update on that.
For the coordinator from Preston, did you have a conversation about like workers' comp liability and things like that for him? Like,
Yeah,
so while he's driving for us, we need to make sure our workers.
Yeah,
comp
I can check with that, but he is helping out. It's almost like a substitute driver, so
Right.
that would
They
fall
might
under.
clause
Yeah,
of some
yeah.
sort, I just wanted to make sure, cause our workers' comp would be liable if he were to be hurt while driving his children, so. We just wanna make sure if we need
Okay.
anything special for coverage that we have it.
Okay, and then I had a visit today by the union president. And indicated that we're down 2 bus drivers, and at the end of this year, we are gonna have a retirement. So that means that we could be down 3 bus drivers. And they're saying, is there anything that can be done to help with the situation? And again, the issue is that we had a bus driver leave and went to another town. And some other towns are paying as much as $6 more an hour for bus drivers. Our ability to compete and to hold people, we're just advertising, and we're not getting, the services, the support that we need. So all of the other bus drivers are, filling in extra time, and we're running on really some emergency situations. Based on, I'm not sure what the board would like to do with this. I could talk with Dan, the attorney, to see what's happening, but it's a contractual thing.
Yeah,
I'm not-
to allowing us to negotiate for a rate increase for the bus drivers, I know that was a big.
Bus drivers only.
That's one of the,
We were trying to get that increase. in
yeah,
the
that's
last
one of
year.
the things. Yeah.
That.
Well, that's what I'm saying, would they, given the circumstances, are they willing
won't
to?
do it.
allow us to?
Everybody gets a raise. You got money for one, got money for everybody. Give everybody
Given
one
the
percent.
circumstance, they might be a little bit more flexible, maybe, might be worth asking the question.
That's the union where the gentleman put his foot on the desk, correct? Yeah,
That's.
Former,
yeah.
former.
The only alternative. would
He's
end up
not,
being-
he's not there anymore, but, I did talk to Dan today, and I said I'd talk to the board, but I know we have teacher negotiations coming up, so he'll want to meet with the negotiating committee. If I set up a meeting with Dan on the negotiating committee, Chris, Megan, and Kate, they can review that, and they can also review this bus driver issue.
Yeah.
and-
If they're
Yeah.
open to allowing us to increase the rates, we would certainly.
Just for bus drivers though.
For the bus drivers.
And we're in an emergent situation, so I
Yeah.
just,
Well,
I
that's
would like
what
to
I'm
know
saying,
what we would
being
do.
more-
Can we provide stipends without going to the contract?
I don't think so. I don't, if the unionized, I don't think you.
They
can-
would have, it's subject to bargaining,
Yeah.
so we would, even though it would be out, so we could bargain something outside of the contract. But then it still has to be bargained, like we both sides have to agree to it, we can't just pay.
We can't just give a stipend for,
Well, I always like to, you
It's all
know,
subject.
this,
But even a sign-on bonus if we get new drivers?
It's a
we-
collective bargaining
we-
agreement, so.
that would have to be negotiated.
Yeah.
a
Sign
bonus.
services do everything.
It's all subject to bargaining.
it's a government grade.
The alternative will become, if we lose any more, contracted out. Cause we can't run with
No buses.
That's expensive.
2 or 3 bus
And it's
drivers.
just not, you know, the
It's-
bus drivers that we have.
We have
they
great
care
bus
about our
drivers.
kids,
Yes,
they know
yes,
town,
yes.
we-
They know everybody personally by name, they know, yeah.
You know,
Completely agree, it's just what do you do in the case of the emergency, is it the substitute driver that gets way more money because that's what the going rate is? And you know, it's just it's hard
Yeah,
to manage when we're in
Yeah.
an emergent
Is
situation.
the rate for the substitute driver already in the contract now? Is the substitute driver a contracted rate?
Do you know, Adam,
Or
is
is the
there,
actual driver the contracted rate?
Yeah, we would, well, if there's a contracted rate,
I think she's asking, when the gentleman from Preston comes, does he receive our rate, or does he receive like
A
a
substitute
substitute rate, or does he receive the rate that Preston's paying him, which is probably not the case. I think that's-
I would have to check on
Yeah.
that, but,
Do we train drivers?
Yeah.
Or do they have to have qualifications, a certain
well,
license to come
generally
in?
speaking, if they needed help and, if anybody was gonna go Deanne, our classified employee,
no, he's
you
saying
know,
do we train alone?
yeah, the person that's coming over is the associate director of their transportation department. He lives in town here, he's very familiar, he's very responsible, and.
we're all for him helping us out,
Yes.
we
Yeah.
push him what he needs.
The question I think Chris is.
Do we train
Right,
our own drivers? If somebody came in, for instance, if Amy
And
put
was
an
there
ad on.
helps with it, but she needed to get qualifications when she came over. So she's now, I think, fully qualified to go through the process, but it is like, it's a process, it's
Yeah.
not, it takes time.
You can
I
train.
wonder if Amy mentioned on the school newsletter, we need bus drivers,
Oh, we
I'm
do.
sure some, oh, you do.
And
No.
social, like Facebook and stuff, yeah, it's like, we need,
I see it, but the price, they list it all, the thing newsletter with the kids, yeah,
Yikes.
I get that.
Well, I do not like using parent drivers,
not.
it has to be an absolute necessity. And that's where we are right now. I don't like it. I wish we had a full staff. But I will call Dan and see if he can get out here as soon as possible to meet with the negotiating team and give us a direction as far as what we're gonna do.
But even if we train them, I don't think you can make them stay. Even if they sign something, we went through this at the hospital with the unionized nurses. Even nurses that we took on and say, train for IV certification and stuff. And said you have to, or gave them a $10,000 sign-on bonus. If you said they wanna leave, they can leave, even if you upfronted them some money.
So you can have them sign a clawback.
Yeah.
It's called a clawback, but you have to legally get that money back.
Yeah.
You can't like withhold the final check. You're not allowed to take wages away from somebody, right?
So
So
you can train.
you would have, we would then have to pay the cost of litigating, getting the
That
clawback.
would cost more than just writing a check.
So it's, clawbacks tend to be more of a return.
Yes, it's not,
Unless you're talking like a graduate program where your company's paying like $40,000-$50,000, right? Then maybe it might be worth it, but
yeah.
generally, a lot of times.
Even with nurses, we couldn't get it back. People that we upfronted tuition and stuff like that, we couldn't get it back if they decided to leave.
So they could earn all their qualifications and.
Yeah, and then say goodbye. And I guess there's probably legal things here,
Yeah,
but.
I mean, generally, people just want to make good on what they signed, like 95% of people are gonna stay if they, I committed to stay 2 years after I got the certification. you know, occasionally there's that, you know, one or two that are just like, no, but.
Yeah, you can't make, and it's hard when you're talking about somebody down at the bottom of the pay scale telling them. They can't leave for $6 an hour more,
Yeah,
you know,
So,
somewhere.
okay, so we're gonna meet with Dan on next steps. It's an urgent item. Okay. We've discussed personnel, that's kind of in line with that as well. All right, we've moved on from eighth grade graduation.
Yeah.
The grant approvals we already did. I don't know how that worked.
Field trip.
But field trip, yep, so we have a very lovely item of field trip motion, which I am very happy to do, despite all the else we've discussed that are emergent and important.
this is the fun stuff.
It is. We please have a motion
Motion.
to approve a field trip to the Alley Cats Bowling Alley and Pastor Lake for our students.
Motion second.
No.
Chris and
All in favor?
Aye.
Wish we could do these the whole
You
week.
know,
I know, okay.
and how fun that Mrs. Derby's going.
Yeah.
Our little repairs.
Cross borders, so we gotta do this,
Yeah.
And then. The administrative goals, this is a first reading, I think we can review that to move to second.
Yeah.
Agreed. And same for the BOE, yeah, these are first readings, so same for both, the BOE and administrative goals. Okay. That covers what we have on new business, and we are. Our regular Board of Ed meeting is Thursday, May 9th. Just as a highlight for that, so you know, we will be awarding the CABE and the CAS awards for the 8th graders during that. So their parents will come
Oh, cool.
and the students will we'll give them their awards for that. So it's exciting.
Yeah.
And then there's a Griswold presentation as well.
You know,
On top of budget meeting?
that's, Sharon is coming in, the principal
I know.
of Griswold Valley.
Some questions in the for.
About the budget and thing, we're gonna be here forever.
So you wanna, table her for a future date?
No. Because I think we'll be back looking at the budget, and that's gonna take a while.
Some of the questions we have for her could influence the budget.
Right.
Yeah,
Although she has no.
she is.
On that whatsoever.
Right.
She'd be mortified if we
Mortifying.
pulled her on.
They have a board.
Invite the board of finance.
Yeah.
And I think it would probably be a good idea to see if she has flexibility to move to another month, just so that we.
I don't like
can
to
give
push her
her
off,
the-
yeah.
No, but you know, I just wanna give her
A full-
our full attention and not feel like we're rushing through to get everything we need to get done. So if she has the flexibility to move, I think that would probably be smart.
That's a question, yeah.
And once budget time's over, we'll more.
And then we're to summer season, it's tough, I know, it's
So much.
I know, but, okay, well, those are the highlights and as Tracy said, just so we know of our dates, it sounds like the May 21st would be that meeting that we would attend as a board, correct?
Yeah.
For the town.
Yes, that would be the whole thing, yeah.
Full budget review,
May 7th or 8th is when they're gonna decide.
May 7th is theirs.
their own hearing
Yeah. The 21st is the town meeting, then there'll be a referendum.
on the 28th. So those are key dates for us.
And then when are we back after the 28th? Because if it comes back to us, that's gonna be the budget meeting for us, right?
Oh,
I hope we
our June
settle
meeting,
it
our
here.
June meeting is like right after that, you know,
Yeah.
it's like 7 days after actions.
Is the 28th the fourth one of the month?
Well, we're not gonna have the results back on. That's a Tuesday.
Well, the data, within an hour after it's over.
The
there won't be
weekday is the
results.
5th one of that week.
Oh,
So June 13th is our meeting. Regularly scheduled, I don't know if that, you know.
So that is my son's graduation. I will not be here.
So should we plan on what's the fifth Thursday?
The fifth Thursday is
Of
the
May?
30th of May.
Should we plan on that? Because we'll know how, we'll get a feel at how the feedback is at the town meeting.
That's
When they set the referendum.
Wait, what is it, the
The
30th?
referendum's the 28th.
The referendum's the 28th, so the 30th, we'll know.
I think the best thing we can do is solve it in here. And come in with as low as an increase as we can.
See where we land on stuff, if we can get a little closer in here, then maybe we don't have to worry about that 13th.
Hey, that's good to know.
Yeah.
What we're looking at.
I would much rather
Okay,
solve it in here.
It's not gonna, it's either, the 30th or the 13th, so.
What we may think would be a go, like a 1% or something, but town may not.
The good thing is we're not dysfunctional like
Yeah.
other towns where they would be there till 4 in the morning arguing instead of figuring out what to do to solve it.
Agreed. Okay, do we need an executive session?
Say it
We
again.
don't need an executive session. tonight.
So that's actually my, sorry, can I just ask one more question? Because I just don't know. So we laid off 5 teachers. But we just hired a Spanish teacher.
Well, so we didn't technically lay them off, we told them that we were
Non-renewing. We
non-renewing
were
their
non-renewing.
contract.
Well, that was a bit of a conflict. If we didn't let the Spanish teacher know,
Yeah,
then she would go someplace else, and that was important. Technically,
can we lay off the other ones without laying off her? Or can we hire her and lay off the others?
the board has rescinded the other contracts. And they're preparing and made Spanish a priority for next year,
Yeah,
so,
it's on the certification.
she would be in. The other thing is that we need all of the teachers for next year.
Well, I know.
I, thought long and hard about, the issue, but I have to think about, who we might say come back and, look at this, so I'll review that with the administrative team. But I may have a recommendation by the, I may have a
That's like
recommendation
I was saying before. I mean, the
by the
longer
May
we wait,
9th
it makes-
meeting.
Well, and then it's gonna be hard, I guess, if we're laying off 5, we just hired a Spanish teacher. We know that Spanish teachers are high in demand, but so are these other 5, and it's just,
It's a non-renewal, so it's
It's a
not
non-renewal.
actually, it's not a loss, but they are, the longer you wait, the longer.
Right,
it
and they
becomes
need
a
to
I don't
relationship.
like doing this to people.
I don't wanna string along our valuable resources with.
Usually I've seen, but
Insane.
I wasn't here, but seen. Just bothers me. Yeah, I know.
Go for
I
it.
know, I understand.
You
Yeah,
can't,
you're not making
you can't renew that.
It's still
And you
bothers.
don't have the money.
And there's enough people that vote yes or no, and it
Yeah.
matters not.
like, you're got a conflict and you don't.
Well, the,
Well, like,
other
that's
thing
the-
is,
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah.
I don't wanna
If
cause
the board
suffering.
wanted to save some money, I could look at, buying the, van on time. Take out a loan.
Buying van on time, I see what you mean.
Yeah,
Do we have the money in this budget to? With some wizardry for,
Well, we have 80,000 budgeted for next year in the proposal. If you were to take out a loan, I would wind up trying to get some money for a down payment out of this year's budget and take out a smaller loan, and you could save some money that way. Instead of spending 80,000, you might spend 12,000, about 18,000.
what would our interest rate be?
Beg your pardon?
Our interest rate, would we be looking at for that? I mean, was Yeah.
Profit.
the mortgages are like 6.
Yeah, 7 houses are
7.5 for a 30-year.
But then I wouldn't do anything with a fire panel. I'd have to go back to the towns
Yeah,
for
well,
a
she
special
was hoping they
allocation.
have capital fund money.
Yeah, I'd throw everything we could
Yeah.
on capital, dump it on the town.
Not be this year, we can prioritize.
Well, the fire panel's a priority, right?
It all comes, at some time it
Yeah.
comes from the taxpayer, right? So we don't want.
It always does.
Right, so
Well,
prioritizing is also important.
sometimes.
We just have determined that fire panels emergent, I mean, they've had like multiple outages with the fire alarms going off at all.
And if
all
nobody's
open.
concerned, we really have to take that serious.
I just think we've determined
Yeah.
that it's,
When you get an expert from, recommendation from an expert like Jody, you really have to.
The generator, I truly believe the generator is more for the whole town.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
of
the
course,
school-
but.
Yes.
But
That's not in their
you
budget.
said that,
Yeah,
it doesn't, it's not necessarily posing an issue right now, it might be in the next couple of years, so maybe the fire panel is the priority, maybe
Yeah.
next year it's the generator, right? And we kind of.
now to do the fire panel, do they have to do the upgrade of the electric?
Well, that's what the question is right now,
Yeah.
right?
it's still under review of
Yeah.
what would it cost to actually do all the what's piece of
Yeah.
it and do all of the fire alarms. That's outside of what I thought the fire panel
Now
was.
they're on the electrician, let's use them for the signs outside. Same time, and be like, we're wrapping this into a package.
Well, there's some townsfolk that I know for a fact can make those signs disappear.
Alright.
Oh,
Alright, motion, okay, so,
I'll second.
okay, Megan. And thank you very much, all in favor?
Aye.
Bye. We are adjourned at 9:45.
all right.
Thank you all. And your deep thoughts on all the deep cuts and things that we need. But thank you for your time and effort.
We will
Thank
see
you
you
for all that you do.
next month.
So we just threw more work at it, doing it out, we've been blessed. Happy budget season.
So, yeah. All right, sorry.
Yeah, no, I'll go this way.
But you lose the weight.